Alright, re-uploading this video because I missed a few Pokemon that are going to be returning with the Indigo Disk. Machio and J-Roses, they have the DLC Part 2 Dex that has been revealed so far, but even this is a little inaccurate because we had the press previews talk about Sawsbuck, and that's not in here. Also, if they're trying to stick to the only revealed Pokemon, for some reason we have fake leak speculation with Paradox, Entei, and Terrakion, which aren't confirmed at all. Now, I missed that there is a data mined Dex section, but this hasn't been updated since the Teal Mask, so we do have the Teal Mask mixed in with the Indigo Disk, so it doesn't separate like we have with Matt's data mine. It's all a mess, it's all inconsistent, so what I'm going to do is just play the video as I had it, and then fill it in at the end with the Pokemon that I didn't talk about. See you in a bit. The Indigo Disk is next week, which means it's time to check out the returning Pokemon in the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet second DLC. I want to give my thoughts on the decks, so if you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like, share with your friends, and comment your thoughts down below. Also, real quick, check out Gfuel. It's how I get the energy for gaming and all this work I do. The Black Friday flavors are on sale, and you can use code Verlisify to get another 20% on top of that. That's 40 servings for 25 bucks. You can't beat it, and you need to stock up on energy drinks as we get into the DLC. So let's react to the Pokemon. Venusaur. Venusaur is interesting because I just think about Generation 6 when every stall kind of broke down into Venusaur or Mega Venusaur versus Ferrothorn or Amoonguss, so it can hold its own. I don't know what Terra does for it. However, when you think about like Venusaur as a special attacker, it being able to have triple stab and a favorable typing could probably pull some really good shenanigans. Blastoise is an interesting one because water is a really good typing, so it's not like the Pokemon is held back by its typing or anything. It's mostly the moveset, and we're just going to see if it works. The only person that I've ever seen make Blastoise a thing is Berto, so he could cook something up, or maybe it's just not going to work out for Blastoise this generation. Vileplume. I've always rooted for like tank Vileplume, and that's like the weird thing about Poison Grass. It's a good typing. You don't need Terra for it, but then these Pokemon have never like really taken off in any kind of crazy way. We also have Dodrio. So Dodrio received an interesting little buff back in Generation 7. It also got like a move pool adjustment. So Dodrio got the things it wanted and then never did anything with it. I think even back in Generation 7, 110 attack was just power crept out, and we didn't have damage theory to understand why, but yeah, like you just can't be an offensive Pokemon with only 110 attack, even with the 110 speed. So Dodrio, like some of these Pokemon are just in and it's whatever. Then we have like Dugong, Exeggutor, Lapras. We want to talk about those Pokemon for a bit. So Dugong is a Pokemon that's never really gotten play, and it's mostly a meme of having double Oko. Same thing for Lapras. Now, Lapras also has the Sheer Cold, but then the game gets weird because if you Terra off of Ice, Sheer Cold's accuracy goes down because Game Freak has made just the worst balanced decisions over the last couple of generations. Nerfing Swagger, nerfing Prankster, nerfing Thunderwave, nerfing Confusion, finding ways of like nerfing Evasion for no reason, and then Sheer Cold doesn't hit everything, and by the way, also has bad accuracy when not used by Ice. So if you Terra off of Ice, there's kind of no point to it. And then just like a lot of weird observations and things that can happen. Does Dugong going into like Terra Grass with thick fat slightly salvage the Pokemon enough, especially if you get a turn? Like they throw an electric type move, you go Terra Grass, free turn for stockpile, Chesto Resto, you're just extra durable, and then you use whatever it takes to get a Oko except for Frostlass. It does get ugly then though, because you have to Terra off the ice for the Sheer Cold, so I don't know. 90, 80, 95, barely gets away with anything. But then if you're going rest, anything, Oko, Dondozo is just better. And then we have Dondozo showing power creep 150, 115 versus 130, 80. And Lapras was viable last generation. Now it was like Dynamax shenanigans. But yeah, like all kinds of weird stuff. Lapras can tank a special hit though, and it does have more speed. Also, Exeggutor might come into play because 95-85 is like survivable, and it has a 125 special attack. I think Exeggutor is a Pokemon that's really only been held back by having the worst dual typing in all of Pokemon. Harvest is a really good ability, and Glimmora is a Pokemon that works, and Glimmora is about as tanky. 83, 90, 81. 95, 75 is about the same, and then 95, 85 is just an upgrade. So you can take a physical hit a little more. Glimmora usually has to Terra off of Rock Poison because there's a lot of super effective hits there, and then you have similar damage. Now I wonder if it is like Choice Specs Executor and you try to do something, nah, the offensive coverage isn't as crazy. But then you have Harvest. So Glimmora with an ability and then a couple of extra tools that it can maybe do something with. I don't know what the sauce is, but playable once you get off the terrible typing. And then you have like Citrus Berry and maybe just hang around forever. Or we have Key Morangaberry recycling and I don't know. Then we have Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan. Hitmonlee has always had the fake out, normal gym, unburdened shenanigans. Does Hitmonlee just kind of find it in this generation? Now, the problem with like these kind of strats is usually something weird or some kind of priority ends up countering it in a weird way. But maybe Hitmonlee just kind of finds it if it hits the right speed tier and then just has natural damage, Terra, normal, close combat. And then that was actually the damage theory all along. I don't think Hitmonchan's going to find any viability, though, so we're going to have to see if, like, some people tech the Hitmonlee because it has the right tools for the meta, or maybe it's just like, Urshifu's always better because power creep. Screw you, says Game Freak. Then we can go into Rhydon. I remember doing the math back in, like, Generation 6. I don't remember the conclusions of that math. Is Eviolite Rhydon tankier than Rhyperior? If so, viable. If not, Rhyperior's just going to be cracked. Solid Rock into whatever Terra that you want. Oh, there's going to be like so many cool Pokemon to look forward to with the Indigo Disk, which is why I'm talking about it right now. And I've got some other plans for it. So yeah, get prepped. Just kind of see what's going to be going on. Magmar. Nah, Magmortar I don't even think does anything. Meganium, whatever. Feraligatr, whatever. I mean, it's got the Sheer Force Dragon Dance, but maybe that's just too slow. And then it's got starter Pokemon stats, which don't really work out. And Typhlosion didn't really do a thing. Quiver Dance Blossom. Setup Quiver Dance hasn't, like, existed, so I don't know about that. Yo, our boy Skarmory. My main concern, though, is, like, Corviknight's been the game, and Corviknight is tankier than Skarmory. So, like, Skarmbliss is just kind of dead because Japanese meta has dominated, and it turns out the most optimal way to play Pokemon ever is just schizophrenic anti-tank. So, Skarmory having a hard time. Maybe it finds something. Like, what does Skarmory Terra do? I don't think it does, like, Gliscor shenanigans. Even then, Gliscor hasn't even been super successful. It's only the piss babies at Smogon that are threatened by it. Smeargle. There's too much to consider with what people could potentially cook up with Smeargle. It's either going to be completely useless or something weird just kind of appears out of this, because there's a lot of interesting new moves that might not have been accounted for, which is also why it might have been absent for so long. Hitmontop doubles support that kind of maybe works, but also gets power crept. Sceptile, Blaziken, Swampert. Swampert's had like some interesting bulk sets. Blaziken could actually finally become a legitimate problem where if you were going to take it out, it just terras into the 3% usage thing that hard counters your team and then reverse sweeps you. Also, opening up its coverage, yeah, Blaziken might have a sauce that gets scary. They gave Flygon Dragon Dance, and it just never mattered. Metagross, I think Damage Theory is going to be an interesting consideration for Metagross. We're going to see if this boy got power crept or if actually is like the answer and the truth. Rampardos, I've never like considered as like a crazy Pokemon, so I think it's just going to kind of get power crept out. But Bastiodon, like these two right here, guys, we have to take into consideration what Bastiodon could mean for the game when you have the bulkiest thing to ever exist. Like, you go max hit points, and I can't think of something that gets more optimal. We never realized that Bastiodon is significantly tankier than Toxapex because it has a million weaknesses. And whenever it was relevant, well, Garchomp always exists, so Scarf Chomp doesn't care and is hitting you 4x. And then the abilities get interesting. I'm not counting out Soundproof, but Sturdy is just good because Oko meta kind of always exists. It's not really like the meta, but it's always a garnish of any meta. You have to worry about Oko meta, you know, rearing its head sometimes. So if something tries to fissure you, or guillotine, or sheer cold, and then you pop the sturdy on them, free. Or maybe it does like the reverse mind games, like we saw with a little bit of time when people were running Garganasalt, that they were actually going sturdy, because Dondozo was like using fissure, and other Garganasalt were using fissure against it. And then it's like, well, no one's ever going to whiff a turn of status onto a Garganasalt anyways, because they know it has Purifying Salt. But then Soundproof just giving you free immunity to stuff, pretty nice. Now, we haven't seen bug type, bug buzz, anything. I mean, yeah, Mega came in with the teal mask and nothing. So Boom Burst, Clanging Souls, Clangorous stuff, whatever. The big one, yeah, it's going to be like, we have Hyper Voice, and then we have Torch Song. I think that's kind of it. It would feel really nice to punk a Skeledirge and just win a game because you're Soundproof Bastiodon. So I'm looking forward to that. And then again, Rhyperior. Rhyperior is just such a crazy sounding Pokemon. If you go Solid Rock, 3-quarter damage from super effective hits, and then you just go into whatever. I mean, the obvious idea is you go Electric, and you have one weakness that's not even a full weakness. I don't like it because, like, you're going to be eating an Earthquake or Ground-type move with that Rock typing, so you're not, like, pivoting off of something. But even then, like, the dude's just ridiculous. What does 140 attack Terra Shenanigans get away with? What kind of bulk can you pump into this Pokemon? Is it... I don't know. Are you running Assault Vest? Are you trying to be like a 3-hit KO, and then you 2-shot everything back? I haven't, like, fully explored. Also, we're going to have to see what happens with the moveset. But we can get into some cool stuff with this Pokemon. Iron Defense, Max Special Defense, Maranga Berry, and then Body Press. I don't know where our Sustain is, but yo. Because the nice thing about Rhyperior is that it can, like, set up and win. If the opponent has all physical Pokemon, yeah, this is like Garganasalt, where, okay, I Iron Defense once, and the game is now over, and I'm taking even less damage from anything, so that's kind of insane. But also, if it gets Encore... Well, actually, yeah, Encore bait is always bad, so, like, you have to make sure... Like, if they switch into an Encore Pokemon, you have to switch out, and then try to read it, and then, like, have some weird stuff happen. So there's a little bit of a gamble there. But if you get taunted, Rhyperior's like, okay, I'm taunted. I'll just hit you with my 140 attack. Oh, I'm excited for these two. Magmortar, I don't care, even though there's probably something behind Magmortar that, like, oh... Well, if you Terra... And it's only got 125 special attack. No, I was like, ooh, did I miss some damage theory? Man, this Pokemon's just garbage. Alright. Superior is back. Oh, I can't... I don't know. Dude, is that also... Like, there's so many Pokemon I want to just sweep every game with. So that's going to be exciting. Contrary. Ooh, so good. Emboar has done its own whatever things. I don't really care too much. Substrika... Does the Speedy happen? Chinchino is like... I don't know if it's better or worse than Mousehold, but Mousehold never happened despite all of the immediate fear of Mousehold on the launch of Pokemon Scarlet. The data mine, guys! Nah. Reuniclus. Having other Regenerator options for your team is neat, especially Regenerator that isn't completely gated by being a Poison-type Pokemon. So, that could happen. Golurk. No Guard leads to shenanigans, but I don't think there's, like, real shenanigans here. Incineroar's gonna gonna ruin doubles. That's just, like, I don't know. And then maybe it's got some singles utility. It just becomes better Arcanine every time. Malamar, same thing on Contrary. I'm going to be disappointed if I don't get swept by a Superpower Malamar just once. Meowstic. Prankster's just so weak, and, like, Game Freak is just so terrified of letting these Pokemon succeed. Primarina is neat, but never, like, did the cool things it could have gotten away with. Liquid Voice just seemed like it would have found some kind of potential. Now, it doesn't get, like, the Pixelate boost or anything. It would be really cool if Game Freak actually, like, paid attention to that, because we saw Empoleon get a buff that didn't really do too much crazy stuff for it, but it got an ability change. Like, if Liquid Voice just got 20% damage on affected moves, that could be really awesome. 126... special attack that's always been damage theory, and we've seen Specs Primarina kind of be alright. I don't know what the sauce is, but, you know, something could just work here. But I don't really see anything that Primarina does better compared to Sylveon, where if Sylveon goes Terra Fairy, Specs, Hyper Voice, and just mows down an entire team, yeah, Primarina kind of does the same thing. Toucanon never did stuff. New Pokemon we don't know anything about. Except like Duraludon and Archaludon is going to be interesting. Eviolite Duraludon, I talked about that with the reveal of its evolution. It was the GOAT with Dynamax, but I don't think it's like as successful without Dynamax. But then Eviolite just sounds annoying, and Steel Dragon's a really good typing. So you could actually maybe slot it in as a Pokemon that doesn't need to Terra on your team. And then we have Alcremie, and this is the Pokemon I also want to sweep every mofo with, because I'm freaking tired of getting taunted and encored every single game. So now we can turn it around on them, where it's like, those stats are just so little behind. But I mean, maybe this is it. Instead of, like I said, Skarmbliss, we go Rhyperior Alcremie. And whenever you bring in a physical Pokemon that kind of like bullies me too much, and I don't have my... No, what is it? I know this... Acid Armor. I was about to say, I know this Pokemon can set up defense. So it's like Acid Armor, Recover, Calm Mind, and then Draining Kiss. And then you win games. And you get set up, and then they're going to taunt or encore you, because that's the only default these Japanese players know. And you start doing crazy stuff. And then you have a base 110. I think there's a lot of success angles here. So yeah, we got a couple Pokemon I'm really excited for, but those Pokemon I'm really excited for. Like, I'm going to build a team around each of these to go for some hard sweeps, and they could just be outrageously successful. So we got 1 Alcremie, 2 on the Superior, 3, 4, and kind of on Metagross. You guys watched me win Metrocon Tournament like 14 years ago. The bomb was crucial to my Generation 4 success. So then we got Chien-Pao Superior for like our 5-6 slot. And again, we could just do some other compositions if we need to, and everything sounds pretty awesome. So I hope you guys are excited, as I am, for some of these Pokemon for the Indigo Disk. And then there's also the new Rainbow Terrestrialization feature. We don't know what that's going to do. Maybe that means like Superior is just the best Pokemon ever. You pop the big fancy Terra, and then you just win before they can respond. Hey, me again. Let's go over Matt's Pokemon Home data mine one last time before the DLC drops, because that was the whole point of the video. A refresher to get hype, since the Indigo Disk is next week. So I'm going to just kind of go back through the order of this and talk about the Pokemon. Now, this has already existing Pokemon because it's the Indigo Disk Dex. And as we've seen with DLC, there's going to be overlaps, since you can just catch a Pokemon again compared to the base game. We also don't know about regional variants and other forms, but it looks like the habitat of the Blueberry Academy supports it, and also makes sense. We have a giant ice area. Instead of having Alolan Ninetales be transfer only, you can then get Alolan Ninetales inside of the game. Same thing for Sandslash, same thing for Alolan Golem, and then even Galarian, Slowpoke, and Slowbro, and Slowking and stuff. Someone commented this, they're wrong, but at least Matt clears it up. Certain Pokemon on this chart should probably be switched for their Alolan forms. We know Alolan Sandshrew will be there from the trailers. I don't remember seeing them from the trailers, but I'm not like going through every frame to find all the Pokemon, because whatever Pokemon return are returning. Weird, Cerebi and Pokeos missing that one as well, if it is a trailer Pokemon. But then Matt says, there's no way of knowing until the DLC releases. Habitat text data for DLC Pokedexes includes entries for all forms of Pokemon, and then just kind of lists everything and talks about why, so we don't have the 100% accuracy on all of the forms. Either way, let's get into it. Sandslash does nothing. Alolan Sandslash. I think the last time it was relevant was Pokemon Let's Go, so if you strip down the dex and then remove items and abilities, yeah, maybe the Pokemon's nasty. Weird stuff going on. So Tentacruel is a good special defense tank, not in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, even though we have the fake with the Toedscruel, but then we have Wiglet and Wugtrio, but Diglett and Dugtrio also found in the Paldea region. Quiverdance Pokemon on Venomoth could do something. Now, as for Golem, who even knows what Alolan Golem is going to do? Is it just the one-shot answer to everything with the Galvanize? Loses Galvanize return, still a bulky Pokemon, could Terra into some kind of craziness. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. the last time I remember talking about this Pokemon was when I like calculated the hardest damage that was like turn 1 inside of Pokemon. I don't even want to think about what that's like with Terra now. The Pokemon's gotten too crazy to do a video like that again. I talked about the other Pokemon and how they're going to be cracked, and then we get into Porygon. So the summary for Porygon is Porygon Z, I'm thinking, is not going to be too crazy because adaptability is gutted. That if you go Terra adaptability into your base type, you're only getting 2.25 times damage. So Terra takes it from 1.5 to 2, and adaptability doesn't even go to like 2.5 or do like some crazy multiplier. So the Hyper Beam there, sure, like it's going to one-shot something. But people weren't doing that the last time Porygon Z was available, and now giving up your Terra only gives you 12.5% more damage. That don't sound too good. And then I think Power Creep just means like Eviolite Porygon 2 is not going to be it. Kingdra, crit shenanigans and doubles, I think Pokemon has power crept well beyond that. Granbull isn't really that competitive of a Pokemon. I forgot Slacking was even in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, so that's not a good sign. Missing Galvantula from the other video, it does stuff as a lead. Scrafty is bulky, and Terra off of the 4x weak to Fairy might actually get us somewhere. Mandibuzz in the Teal Mask, I thought I was going to do something. It ended up not doing something. And then we have a couple of Pokemon here for Generation 7 that were also skipped that can be pretty significant. Comfey took over Generation 8. Comfey stood up to Dynamax Cinderace. So what it does now could actually just be cracked. So there's a lot of Pokemon I'm actually like really excited for, and I already talked about them early on in this video, but then add Comfey to that list. Maybe someone solves Minior finally, maybe it's just bad. And then Araquanid has like a million different passives, so who knows how that's going to stack and end up playing out. And then the other interesting thing to note is we have Arceus Pokemon being catchable again, kind of like Ursaluna and Basculegion. So, A, if you want a Cleavor, no hassle, easy. And then I thought it was weird that I was talking about Magmortar, and then we didn't talk about Electivire, or the other Generation 4 evolutionary Pokemon. Does Electivire get damage theoried out of existence? Stats. 123 attack. 95, though. Terra does something. Motor Drive could be interesting. Also, you get that electric immunity, which you don't take advantage of initially. So, like, yo, you go Terra Water, and then you're only weak to grass. Not bad. Maybe viable. I've never liked its design. I've never liked the Pokemon. I know people that, like, dabbled with it back in Generation 4 and 5, and I think it might have seen a Fan Fridays in Generation 6 or something. So, if you really want to make this Pokemon work, maybe you find the sauce. Is it secret S tier? No. But can you win a game with a B+ tier Pokemon? Kinda. Yeah, sure. Oh yeah, and Excadrill is a really annoying competitive Pokemon, mostly just because it like finds ways of succeeding against the kind of teams I like to build. It fissures my tank, and it Ironheads my Clefable, and I just don't have a good time. And then Whimsicott, Prankster Taunt. Yay, fun times. Oh, and legendary Pokemon. So those are going to be outside of the Dex if there is some kind of feature that allows us to catch legendary Pokemon. And again, everything's been so clouded with like fake leaks and speculation and not even like real information to where who even knows what's going to be in? Do we just have all legendary Pokemon? Is Game Freak cooking up something else? And the Indigo Disk ends up having a different focus. Do we get all of the legendary Pokemon except for the Regis for some reason? Even though we have Regieleki and Regidrago and some other transfer legendaries. And then the rest are restricted, so we don't even talk about them competitively. And that's it. So that could be an angle there. And I think now we've covered it. Also Lantern, but Lantern's mostly like Dynamax, Vaporeon meme Pokemon. So there we go. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching. Oh yeah, Crabominable, whatever.